Ms. Sneha Shahi, who is the conservationist and UNEP ambassador. I'm also proud to share that she is our own alumnus. And Mr. Devansh Shah, who is the policy consultant, Ministry of State for Communications, Government of India. The session will be chaired and moderated by Dr. Nazish Campwala from Faculty of Social Work. Over to you, Nazish.
Thank you, ma'am. Namaskar. A very good afternoon. I am Dr. Nazish Campwala from Faculty of Social Work, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. I welcome you all heartily to this session 4 of panel discussion on making sustainability a way of life under this international conference held under India's G20 presidency. Without wasting much time, let me all introduce you to our guests on the dais for today and the speakers. We have amongst us Ms. Aarya Chavda. She is a young environment crusader. She is an ardent and zealous reformer, and just at the age of 13 years began her journey as an author, illustrator, and a speaker. She is the youngest Indian to have been represented her country at UNESCO headquarters Paris twice, that is, at the age of 6 and 12 respectively. Aarya demonstrates her dedication through her public awareness campaigns on preservation of cultural heritage and sustainable living, caring for climate. We welcome you, Aarya. We also have amongst us Ms. Sneha Shahi. She's a conversationist and UNEP ambassador pursuing her doctoral studies in sustainability sciences at Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment in Bangalore, recognized by Manipal Academy of Higher Education. We welcome you, Sneha. We also have amongst us Mr. Devansh Shah, who is a track chair at Y20. We are very fortunate to have you amongst us, sir. Over to the speakers. A few ground rules before we start the sessions. All the discussions, question and answers shall be parked towards the question and answer session. We would really appreciate if there are no internal discussions while the speakers are speaking. Over to our first speaker, Aarya. Over to you, Aarya.
Honorable dignitaries on the dais, esteemed speakers, and my dear friends, I wish you all a very pleasant afternoon. It is my pleasure, indeed a great honor, to be here and address at the Y20 Summit. Today, in this session, I am grateful for being given the opportunity to speak out on climate change, making sustainability a way of life. Author of 9 books, I voice my words by raising awareness on relevant topics such as preservation of cultural heritage and current environmental crisis, which are of grave concern in today's world. As we all know, the climate crisis is global, and its real and anticipated impacts have already caused a lot of damage on the face of our Mother Earth. As a citizen of the future, I have a few questions to ask. How does it feel like to lose what we thought would last forever? As the youth, are we really passionate enough about saving our environment? Do we really care about where we are leading our future to? And if we really do, how far will we go to save it? Did you know that there is no more destructive beast than we Homo sapiens? Judging by the havoc that we as a species have wreaked on the face of our Mother Earth. In the present world, what if I were to tell that we are facing the most crucial time in the history of mankind? Many of the changes observed in the climate are unprecedented in thousands, and some of the changes already set in motion are irreversible over hundreds of thousands of years. As our planet faces global warming, we experience rising sea levels, ocean acidification, loss of biodiversity, huge amounts of pollution, and loss of human lives. Most of the causes of this carnage seem familiar. Logging, poaching, overfishing. Add to all this a relatively new threat. This is global warming. Global warming, driven largely by the burning of fossil fuels, rising temperatures, increased extreme weather events, propelled in part by climate change. Forest fires, floods, and droughts have already compounded the damage on the face of our earth. Already, 10 million precious lives are lost annually due to air pollution caused by combustion of fossil fuels, leading factors of global warming which ails Earth. Today, let me ask my audience, are we going to change our ways and work for the betterment of our own future? What can we really do to reverse back our actions and save the planet from this current climate catastrophe? Our environment is in our hands. It's vital for all of us to first understand the role we play in achieving sustainability. We all first need to delve more deeply to understand the significance of our own actions for climate change, because it is our responsibility to build a better life for ourselves and those around us. It is incumbent upon us to restore our environment to some semblance, if not out of compassion, then at least out of self-preservation.
Arya,
We need to,
Can we conclude?
yeah, we need to start today. Tomorrow will be too late. I firmly believe that we youth have the potential to change our mindset and work together for our environment. Through my recent book, Coming Together, I spread my message that no one is going to build a change for us. No one is going to save our planet for us. It is us, the young generation, who is going to have to connect together, recognize our role in achieving sustainability, dirty our hands, and work together to protect our environment. It is us youth who have to bring in a change. Together, we youth can be conscious to build an eco-conscious society. We can connect across religion, region, and race to knock on every single door and be the change maker for our own future. I thereby conclude my speech with unity in our hearts, determination for change in our minds, a goal to live sustainably, and a message to ignite action for preserving our Mother Earth. After all, our choices will then show the world that such change is possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Arya. What a bright, wise young lady who to have said that youth for a conscious society. With this, we move on to our next session presenter today, Ms. Sneha Shahi. Over to you, Sneha, ma'am.
Hi everyone. So this is an incredible opportunity. I'm going to be speaking through the heart because I strongly feel my heart belongs to MS University. Um, this is really emotional. So when we are talking about opportunities, I believe the best example I could give is this university itself. It's curated minds, it's inspired people, it's encouraged people like me to pursue science, arts, culture, an amalgamation of so many subjects, which then ultimately leads us to action. I cannot say anything new or anything to follow all the speakers who've spoken to you all day today about climate change, about water scarcity, about melting icebergs, about our passion, about our empathy. But I'd like to emphasize the fact that we really need science, arts, activism, and empathy to come together and then bring about action. I believe as scientists, because I am pursuing science, I often get mistaken for someone who's just after data, someone who just came to collect data from a survey, from a social survey, someone who came to sample a stream just because she wants to. You get questioned a lot, why you are doing it, what are you getting out of it? It's really heartbreaking sometimes because I don't have the answer for it. Sometimes I don't know why I'm doing it. There are days which are overwhelming when I don't know why I'm pursuing this degree still. Why am I still studying? Why am I still going convincing people to opt for non-plastic alternatives? But then there are days where we get to meet people who are, so passionate and so encouraging. You step out and you see that you've created change. My work started in MS University, right from Bukhi. That was my master's dissertation. I was encouraged, tolerated, and supported by my department, by Professor Arunarya, by Dr. Kauresh Machajani, by people from my department like Manthan sir, Bablu sir, Neha ma'am, Tarika ma'am. So all of these people were the people who help you seize the opportunities that are out there. Your role could be to create change. Your role could be to inspire others. Your role could also be just to inspire your own family. You need to start where you are. You need to find the platforms that are available to you. Nobody will, care about oceans when they've not seen it. But I believe you just need to step out and see what's there in your own backyards. Bhuki was such a prime example for it. It has crocodiles, gangetic turtles, and whatnot. It has potential to mitigate floods. It has potential to increase green corridors in Baroda. And this is just one such stream. There are many such others. Saying that, I've moved on and I'm now working on larger rivers, which are 140 kilometers. Rivers that flow through the land of Tamil Nadu. Rivers that have tribes. Rivers that have administrative bodies along them. All of them want to work together. Who will be these knowledge partners? Who will be these energetic, enthusiastic people who will bring them together? And that's where our roles are. We are somewhere in the middle. We are pursuing our degrees, but we are also wanting to save the earth for our future. So then it's our responsibility to bridge the gap between communities, administration, science, arts, and everyone, and bring them all together. And when I talk about opportunity, I believe until there are mentors to encourage you, there are mentors who will inculcate the right sense of belonging and responsibility, it's not possible. Having modules which are interdisciplinary really helps. Having people who would encourage you to pursue something not just because it's tricky, but because you can do it is something really interesting to me. And I believe right in your own departments, in your own faculties, you will find these mentors. Just stick to them, annoy them, bang on their doors day and night, ask them questions, and you will find the scale and the scalability to take your ideas ahead and reach onto platforms such as this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sneha ma'am. In a nutshell, what a beautiful message. Start where you are. It all begins from you. With this, we move on to the third speaker, Mr. Devansh sir. Sir, over to you.
Thank you so much for having me here. Before I begin with what I want to say, just before lunch, a very enthusiastic young student came to me, and she asked me this one question, that we often see college students being very vocal about issues. What about people from school, What about high schoolers? How can we come forward and talk? Seeing Aarya on the panel and seeing Kautilya on the panel today is proof that, even school children can make a difference out there. As Y20 track chair, it is a very proud moment for me. And for all of us, I would say, when we have such young people on the panel, the youth voices are being put in front of the globe, and that is something that Y20 aims to do as well. Coming to what I wish to speak to you about, Antriksh Shanti hai, Paryavaran Shanti hai, Prithvi Shanti hai. Peace be to the universe, peace be to the earth, peace be to our environment. This is what our Vedas teach us. This is the cultural ethos of India. This is what India has been from 5,000 years ago. The reason I speak to this is no matter how much farther we march ahead into the future, and as we move towards creating a sustainable future, that's what we're here to discuss, we must remember where we come from. Because often the solutions to most of our problems lies behind us or what we have left behind or forgotten. Now, sustainability practices normally have 4 pillars. They revolve around 4 aspects: a human aspect, a social aspect, an economic aspect, and an environmental aspect. Now, when we take the international organizations and the government into focus, the government has been doing a lot of work on this. When you have human aspect, it basically means how can we meet basic human needs of water, of sanitation. Uh, Obviously, everyone knows that we have the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, but what can you and I do to ensure that this particular need is met? Is there any way that we can make sure that we use reusable products? We have multiple startups coming out, who have come out with wonderful products when it comes to hygiene products that are reusable. Can we opt to them instead? When it comes to the economic aspect of it, we are a nation of job creators. We're not a nation of job doers. We're moving towards that once again. So while we're doing that, a wonderful array of startups was observed outside, where you're continuously creating opportunities. There was one particular startup that really caught my eye, where they were using plastic to create manhole covers. Now, manhole covers is such an essential need. It caters to your both basic human need as well as your economic need because it generates money. A manhole cover costs 9,000 rupees. They manufacture a sustainable and an ecological friendly one for 1,800 rupees. Now, that is something that can create a revolution, especially in the rural areas where sanitation is a need that hasn't been fulfilled to some extent. We need to encourage more and more such startups. We have the National Clean Energy Fund created by the government to ensure and encourage people to switch to clean energy. I'm very happy that, again, being a localite from Baroda, that Vadodara is one such city that has wholeheartedly accepted solar energy. Almost all residential places are now coming up with their own personal rooftop solar missions, which is something that is very exciting, and that's something that we showcase to the world. When we know friends from all around the globe, 62 partner nations are present here. This is something that they observe in the city of Vadodara, that this is how a nation can accept clean energy. It's a very proud moment for us that we've achieved our goal of 40% non-fossil fuel electricity 9 years ahead of schedule. 9 years ahead of schedule, that's a decade. Where technology is changing in days, we're a decade ahead of schedule. That's how fast we are, and that's what we're teaching out there to the globe. Again, I would rather have more questions. Because it's a Y20 consultation. I want to hear voices from all around the nation, from all around the globe, to see what you have in mind, what ideas you bring to the table. So this is where I end my speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Devansh sir. To again put it in one nutshell, there are problems in our lives, but the solutions come around from you, the gist of what Devansh sir said. The floor is now open for question and answers. May we have questions from the audience, please? Yes, sir. Volunteers, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah,
Namaskar, sir.
ma'am.
As we know, sir, electric vehicles is the future of India, sir. And for electricity production, we have long sea routes, long sea areas, sea coastal areas, sir. France is utilizing their coastal areas from 1910, and still we are not utilizing our coastal areas for electricity production. What do you think, sir? What will be our efforts? What will be our if for steps to conquer this issue, sir? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. Very rightly said, waterways and coastal areas are a huge mine of energy resource that India hasn't explored yet. It's something that we are exploring, and I believe it shouldn't be entirely up to the government. I believe it's the private sector that now needs to take a lead when it comes to generating electricity in the coastal areas and in areas where you have rivers and other water bodies. Because while we've covered the social aspect very well, the solar aspect, I'm sorry, so the solar aspect of energy very well, we should encourage private entrepreneurship. It's the need of the hour, because when private entrepreneurship leads the way, we teach the globe as well. It should be a culmination of government and private partnership. That's something that I would encourage. So I believe it's up to all the young entrepreneurs out here. If that's something that interests you, definitely go for it. It's a minefield of opportunities, and you should explore it.
Next question, please.
Yeah. Namaste, sir. Namaste, ma'am. I am Rushabh Parikh from Faculty of Technology and Engineering. I would like to start my question with a very funny anecdote. Recently, what happened? A little cousin of mine, out of nowhere, he calls me and says, Rushabh bhai, Himalay pigade છે આપણે કંઈક કરવું પડશે. It's my favorite mountain. And yeah, I was impressed but shocked at the same time that little child, he was hardly 13 or 14. and he's having this maturity. And I realized ki even I was, when I was in my 6th class, 7th class, we studied all this global warming, greenhouse effect, climate change. And at that time we were very conscious ki yeah, હું તો કરી શજા વસ્તુ, I would fight for this. But gradually, when we grow up, when we get into the fight of 10th, 11th, 12th, then we get into the graduation, then we fight for our job, our career starts. And in all these, our priorities change from saving environment, from working for environment. Our priorities change to ourselves, competing with others, career. So, what do you think as an institution, ya fir as a part of government body, we should add or we should inculcate in this chain so that awareness stays forever with us?
Miss Aarya, would you like to answer that? Being a young crusader, I believe she has something in mind.
Thank you for your question. Firstly, I believe that whatever our age is, we should never give up on what we believe we should achieve. And I feel as if we as the youth, whatever our responsibility it is, for example, we're fighting for our environment. I feel as if it's not our duty to save our environment. It is our right to save our environment, because when we are saving our environment, when we are talking about saving our environment, we are implying that we are saving our future. We're saving what we are going to become. We are saving our Mother Earth. So it should not be a duty, it should be a right. Along with that, as I take two campaigns, sustainable living, caring for climate, and preservation of cultural heritage in schools, universities, and organizations, I have come to believe that if all of us youth ourselves make our policies and come together to work sustainably by starting from our own colleges, our own schools, our own homes, by starting individually, then only we can implement those changes and then further start spreading more awareness to other people to implement those changes. And that is how I believe that along with awareness, we should also do action. But this should not be in an individual approach. This should be in a collective approach where each and every one of us, even if we're young, old, whatever our age is, because this is our planet Earth, however old we are. So that's what I believe in. I also believe, for example, as I take presentations on environment with university level students, when I take my presentations, I include research and statistical data. And then after the presentation is done, I include some of the interested students in forming an eco warrior group or care for climate group, where we can all come together to save or to protect our surrounding environment in that particular institution or college. So I believe that whatever timing it is, whatever age group it is, wherever we are, as it is our Mother Earth, we can do whatever we can by adopting eco-friendly products or by segregating our own waste, whether it's a big step or it's a small step. We all can come together in the end, we all can join our hands in the end, and we all can set the course for our future. Thank you.
Would you like to add something, Sneha ma'am?
Sure. So, definitely, if it's a young kid already asking questions about Himalayas, that's a win by itself. We know very little about Himalayas. It's not just they're melting. Himalayas are also one of the regions which have a lot of rainfall, but they're also the regions which have water scarcity. Institutions need to come together not just to combat climate change, but to also combat the political ecology and the infrastructural problems that are there in these kind of spaces, because the communities in these spaces are vulnerable. They weren't the ones directly, contributing to the climate change. However, they have faced the brunt of it on the Himalayas front. On the more sustainable educational front, I feel schools need to adopt modules that encourage environmental sciences and not impose them. If you have a subject added to your curriculum, you take it as I am going to read this, I'm going to pass this, and this will be a tick box. But if it's an encouraging subject, which is, opted from by their side, I feel then they have a passion towards learning more about it. I think that would definitely help.
Thank you, Sneha ma'am. Any more questions, please? Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I am Mrs. Sangeeta Pashine. I am assistant professor in the Department of Education. Yeah, I just want to know that we are having such a nice seminar here in the four walls. Can't we take this seminar on the street where common man is staying who doesn't know anything about environment? And second is, what is the role of environmental ethics? When you don't have the ethics, what is the use of saving environment? People should have that thinking कि ये हमारा है. जब तक ये हमारी वाली एटीट्यूड नहीं आएगी ना, जब तक सब. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So, ये हमारा वाला attitude I completely understand because till we started talking about Bhukhi, it used to be called Bhukhi Nala. And then when people started recognizing कि ये हमारा है, ये हमारी university में है, till then this Nala term did not leave it. So it really helps to make people realize about their own backyards and help them gain stewardship of the same.
Absolutely. Yes, we have a question there.
Uh,
Excuse me. Can we just finish, please? Yes, please. Sir.
Absolutely agree with you, ma'am, that we need to take this to the streets. A seminar happening in a closed hall will obviously not result in a lot of changes, which is why the Y20 is also doing Y20 Chopals. We're taking it down right to the village grassroots level where we want the youth to get involved in it. These are the 5 topics that are going to be talked about. So, in a village in Odisha or in a village in Gujarat, in Karnataka, in Rajasthan, in Maharashtra, people are going to be talking about these issues, and that is what we want. So, kudos to you for bringing up that point, and that is something that I agree, and absolutely everyone should become a part of this and do it as well.
Yes, we had a question here, please. Here and then, sir, please.
Hi, my name is Soham. I'm from the Faculty of Social Work. My question is for Ms. Sneha. First of all, I'm really happy to see you over there, and I'm really happy to be sharing the same alma mater that you once studied in. My question is a bit personal. I believe, climate change or sustainability is some of the topics that youth might not get very attracted to when it comes to taking up research. I, being a master student, want to ask this: what has been your driving motivation to take up such kind of an issue, and how has been your journey from here to there, and what has been the role of this issue in that entire process?
So that's really sweet. Thank you. And again, MSU. So I grew up in Assam. My father and my grandfather are in Air Force. I grew up in Assam filling water bottles and tanks from communal taps. This is a place, mind you, where it rains all day long, sometimes for days on end. But still we have to walk at least 500 meters or kilometer because it's an Air Force camp. There are facilities of communal taps. But in otherwise, there are no communal taps. The government has supplied taps without supplying the pipeline in some of the hilly regions. So these kind of stories, these kind of things did nudge me towards thinking more on these lines. Joining the environmental sciences course here at MSU opens you up to even more subjects. You are not just studying about water, you're also trying to understand how it functions as a chemical compound, how it functions as a social bond. My work on rivers initially wanted to look at the water quality of it. But that's not where the story ends. We need to look at environmental ethics, as ma'am told, environmental histories of these landscapes, and then see how people have treated it before, what they want it to go back to, and then what is sustainable for them. Because I believe sustainability is a very misused term. A sustainable thing for me might not be sustainable for someone else. So it's important to realize what the local grassroots people want, cater the solutions and the interventions based on that, and then move forward. On another front, pushing more people towards pursuing science and scientific degrees. To bring about action, I don't really think you need a degree that states that you are an environmentalist. It does help because your ethos will be coming from a very theoretical backing and a theoretical knowledge. But I don't think, I think the only thing we lack is the push or the passion. The degree is just a stepping off point. And to anybody else interested in pursuing more things in climate change and sciences, There are degrees which don't even look at your background degrees, right? You need not have a master's to do a PhD in climate and conservation. You need to have the backing and the project ideas that stem from your heart, and I feel then the world is open to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Sneha ma'am. Yes, I was going to do that.
Good afternoon. Excuse
Can
me. I have one question.
Can we please first let the speakers complete and then we'll come back to you.
Okay,
We'll
thank
come
you.
back, right? So, sir, since many of us belong to the youth, and we're not only talking about age here, we're talking about the mindset. All of us are youth. Let's remember that. So, we have the same question for sir as well, Devansh sir as well, and Aarya as well. Please tell us about your journey. How did you come across thinking about this entire spectrum? And where were you and where have you come till now? We'd like you to throw light upon that, please.
Thank you. When I was 9 years old, at that time my city Ahmedabad, it was inscribed as India's first UNESCO World Heritage City. So at that time I was very inspired and I was very curious about my own city's heritage places and my culture. So therefore I started visiting all the heritage places and I started drawing those heritage sites. Then, being an ardent bookworm, I got inspired to start writing a book which has narrative poems on heritage. So, I wrote my first book on heritage, and then the COVID crisis came in 2020. Along with the COVID pandemic, I saw the Australian bushfires and the Amazon wildfires, and at that time, honestly, I was aghast because I realized that in order to save our past, in order to save our heritage, our legacies, our history, our culture, we actually needed to think about how to save our future. Because if we see the current scenario, we do not want our planet and our future to go towards a drastic way. We want it to go towards a much more greener and a sustainable way. Therefore, I started thinking as to if we want to preserve our heritage, we need to preserve and protect our environment, our Mother Earth. So I started writing books on environment. I wrote my first book on environment as Seeds of Hope. In that book, when I was 10 years old, I wrote about how we need to, the youth, the young generation, we need to spread more awareness, to spread and to knock on every door that yes, we need to save our environment. A year later, I wrote the sequel of my book, Seeds of Hope, which is Seeds to Sow. In that book, I emphasized upon how I had realized that just awareness is not going to protect our environment. Only if we spread awareness and then we spread action while we do A plus A movement. So, through my campaign, Sustainable Living Caring for Climate, I have started my movement, A plus A, which is awareness plus action. This emphasizes on how we need both awareness and action to protect our environment. And in my most upcoming book, Coming Together, I have written on how just an individual change is not going to save our planet. Just as I told in my speech, we are not going to wait for somebody to save our planet for us. Just one individual change may bring a small difference, but to save our environment, we need a huge difference. That is why in my book Coming Together, I've written upon how the youth can come together, join hands and connect together by saving our environment together through sustainable practices.
Thank you so much, Aarya. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. There's two little anecdotes that sort of got me to where I am today. I think the first one goes back to when I was a kid and it was summers. We used to have this little place in our society. It was a fountain come park sort of a situation where we had a lot of trees and everything. And but due to rainy seasons, there was also the emergence of snakes there. So the society decided, for the safety of the children, it was better that it be shut down. To completely rub off the place, cut all the trees and everything. But that was a place that was very dear to us, and as kids, we threw a lot of tantrums. We sat there for a night and whatnot. Ultimately, we got the place saved. It was called Turtle Island. It's a place that still holds a dear place in my heart. That was something that got me started onto the idea of conservation. that something can be saved, and the feeling to save something is amazing. Fast forward a couple of years where I was working as a risk analyst with a consulting firm, and we normally weigh options for a lot of projects to see what works, what doesn't work. Similarly, with that, we had an option to either erase a part of land to cut costs, but we managed to find a way that would not only save the land but also cut costs for the company. And given where I work right now, as I work as a policy consultant, where we work on policies of national importance, this is something that we always keep in mind, because it's something that is imbibed in the way we function as well. That climate and is something that we need to save. It's something that we need to be very well aware of. And no matter what changes that we bring, that might bring changes to a lot of people. I worked, so the Ministry of Communications also has the Department of Post, letters, paper again. But we're constantly trying to find a way to see how we can save paper, how we've integrated banks into the postal service. That has led to people ensuring there's no paperwork happening anymore. You can directly get loans and other issues digitally. So that this ensures that there's a less wastage of paper, there is less resources being wasted. So that's something that we really keep a focus on.
Thank you, sir. Ordinary stories made extraordinary by dedication and perseverance. We had a question from the third row. Yes, sir, please.
I don't have any question. I have an observation and experience to share. My name is Aarya Chavda, and I teach business communication at Indian Institute of Management, Raipur. Recently, we had this PGP, that is our program review committee, where we made a significant change in course on sustainability. Earlier, it was an elective course. Students can opt it. This year, we have made it compulsory for every student. That means all the students at IIM Raipur will study sustainability as a part of their core management course. And besides that, we also provide assignments related to sustainability. For example, in our course, we give how students understand sustainable language and gender and their role in the society that we are in. So I think that is it from our side. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. We congratulate you. We had a question from a young lady there. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, I'm Mega. I'm from Indonesia. And right now I'm pursuing my master as journalism in Gujarat University. So couple weeks ago, we have poster exhibition in our department about social issues topic. And one of my Indian friends was written in her poster like, "Congratulations, India as most populated country and surpassed China in 2023. Means she's proud and take this as an achievement of India. So my question is for all the panelists, like, what do you think about this one? Is this achievements deserve to be proud as youth? Because when population is increased, it will be more affected to climate change, like plastic use also will increase, oxygen needs are also increased, but in other way, we have less trees in nowadays. So what do you think about it? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that question. I sort of have a dual approach to that question. While I believe population control is something that the entire globe needs to focus on, and ensure that something that collectively they take a decision that population control must be done. But when it comes to India's case, I believe that India is a young nation. Today, 60% of our population is young. And with the population this dynamic, this young, we have a lot of potential in it. India's youth, as I like to say, it's not scared by the hurdles out there. It gets excited by the opportunities, and India is one of the booming markets globally right now. So to have a population so dynamic, to have a population that is demanded across the globe, to have a population that is very adaptable to different skill sets, I believe that it's one of our strongest resources. We should be proud of our youth. That's my take on it. Thank you.
Would you like to answer, Sneha ma'am?
Yeah.
So, as already Devansh told, that population control is something that the country is working towards. There were schemes developed for it. There were educational schemes developed for it in order to encourage a single girl child, to encourage single child, and things like that. There will be people who will be proud of these kind of achievements. On the other hand, every person adds to the carbon content, right? As you rightly said, that every person will add to a lot of plastic use, right? I believe consumerism is what drives pollution. So, if we cannot control our population, I believe we need to look at it from a supply chain kind of a view. We need to decrease the demands. We need to decrease our needs. And the very Gandhian economics formula of needs versus wants, that needs to be applied when we are talking about our markets. I think that would help us control our carbon credits if we are not able to control population, which is again a very sensitive topic.
Um, Although I agree with Mr. Devansh, I also have to say that looking in the point of climate change, I believe that with more population present, there would be more airborne diseases which would cause in more deaths. This would also cause more population, more carbon emissions, more fuel wastage, more carbon footprints, and this would harm the environment even more further. So I believe that something should be done to control the population, or something should be done to control the demands of the population, so that we can work with hand in hand. Humans and nature could form a sustainable bond. So that's what I believe.
So creating a win-win situation for the nation as well as for the people altogether. We had a question there. Volunteers, please.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Can we please let Sir ask? He had raised his hands first. Yes, sir.
Namaste everyone. I'm Hemant Sharma from Faculty of Journalism and Communication. So my question is, since you mentioned policy making and research about policies of national importance, uh, uh, and again another very interesting factor of population is mentioned. So there has to be a time that when our population needs to stabilize and then gradually decrease, like, and that time has to be sooner, as we all know. But since we have seen in our history, a lot of other countries have struggled with the aging population uh, simultaneously with their population decrease. So what is India and India's policy making, policy research, thinking of, and what lessons are they learning from that and to apply for, policies of India's future?
Thank you.
I'm really sorry. I also wanted to add in a second part. So I would like to extend this policy research का जो सारा मतलब planning और policies के futures हैं, I would like to extend that question from population and also in terms of incentivizing sustainability at an individual level for citizens. So, please.
Thank you for the question. Very rightly said that a lot of countries are struggling with their aging populations and population decrease in the same. Again, I would reiterate my point that when we have a population that is 60% young, a population that is demanded globally, even countries with aging population, are demanding the Indian workforce. We have a lot of multinational companies today, all having CEOs from Indian origin. That says a lot about the people of India, don't you think? So when it comes to policy making and how India looks at its population, we've had multiple campaigns, as Sneha ji rightly said, that of having 2 children only, or promoting girl child, having a girl child, or promoting the education of girl child. That's something, these practices have already been put into place. These sort of filters have already been put into place to ensure that we have a sustainable growth of our population. So I believe that the issue to deal with the decreasing population is not something that India has to deal with it immediately. We have a long while because again we have a young population that will age over a lot of years coming soon. So we have a great future ahead of us, and the way is only up from now. Coming to the second part of your population as to how can we make sustainability a daily practice for people. As speakers before us said, that we don't need to make huge changes. We can deal with a couple of gradual changes. Can we change a plastic toothbrush to a bamboo toothbrush? Can we, in rural areas especially, construction of toilets in people's houses to ensure there is no open defecation. There is cleanliness and sanitation maintained. These are the small practices that we can practice in our daily life, spread awareness about the people that we talk to, include this as a part of our daily conversation. When you go to a chai wala, for example, you go to a tea place, don't take tea in a plastic cup. Ask them for a mitti ka kulhad. That's something that we've grown with. That's the cultural ethos of India. So ask for a mitti ka kulhad. It not only promotes local artisans, but it's also sustainable. So use these practices in your daily life.
What can be an incentive to promote those policies? It's basically saying.
So at a macro level, the government has come up with a lot of initiatives, but these problems need to be solved at a micro level. You have to get down right to the grassroots. It does not necessarily fall on everybody sitting in Delhi or Gandhinagar. It falls on you and me. When we go out, when we stop using those products, they will be automatically be incentivized to start using other products. When we actively say no to something, that we will not drink in this, and he observes that there is a drop in his customer ratio, that's something that will encourage them to switch to more sustainable methods. Now this is a very aggressive way of going about it as well. The other way could be you actively go out and talk to them, make them understand, because a lot of the times the major issue with sustainability is the lack of literacy about the same. They need to be made aware about these things. They need to be made aware of how this impacts their lives as well. When that happens, they will get incentivized.
So sustainability as a way of life has to be imbibed into the minds. Yes, ma'am.
Could I just answer what he had said?
Yes, please.
Yes. So I think there's a certain behavioral change also which you need to imbibe amongst your own self. That is what I think the gist of the entire panel is, that it starts from us. So there's a lot of policy regulations which are already existing, but the implication or the application of the same actually comes from the human beings, right? So execution starts from the micro level. So if we bring some certain behavioral changes amongst ourselves, that if we feel good that we are incorporating or giving some kind of jobs by making kulhad, if a chai wala is more investing in buying some kulhards and he feels good about the fact that he's contributing in certain way, that he's creating a certain kind of job for the people around himself. So that is a certain behavioral change that comes from the people amongst themselves. So there's a lot of policies, but execution comes from us also. So that I thought was a good way of responding to that. Thank you.
Can I?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Ma'am, may I?
So this is not to ask any question, but just to compliment Devansh and Sneha. Sneha was giving us an inspiration looking at Bookie from science side, but we were looking at Bookie from the fine art side. So we were sharing the backyards, you were clearing up one side of the backyard and we were clearing from the other side of the backyard. I would like to put up a point here because the students from fine arts, from museum studies, inspired by looking at your work on the other side, started doing what we can do. So we did a wall painting trying to portray the ecosystem at the backyard where the crocodiles and the species what you mentioned in a contemporary way, inspired by a tribal art, showcased on our wall and used that window just near to it as an invite to the people to stand there and look at the crocodile habitat at the backdrop. So I think we are all putting our efforts for young, and the youth have contributed that kind of a small effort into it. So I thought I should mention that what each faculty of our university is doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. We had a question from the young lady there, please.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Priya Verma and I am student of Faculty of Commerce. 2 years back, as a specialized subject of marketing, banking and all, besides that, Faculty of Commerce introduced open elective subjects, and among them, one was the environmental studies and disaster management. So we are very fortunate to learn that subject, and faculty from Faculty of Science was there to taught that subject to us. So my question is to Sneha ma'am and sir, that whether it should be an optional subject or it should be compulsory subject into the academics at bachelor's or master's level. And my second question would be, as India is holding the presidency for G20, so what will be our initiation, that what unique India has in sustainable practices that can be taught as a part of curriculum to the students of the other nations? Thank you.
Right. So on the front of having subjects which should be elective or optional, I feel while you're promoting it as an elective, you need to inform what it will help you with. If it is an imposed subject, if it is a compulsory subject, you also need to mention that one subject can stem into many branches. A person studying environmental science need not just be a researcher. They can go ahead and become an activist, a campaigner, a practitioner, a policy analyst, or they could be working in firms which are working towards environmental assessments, right? So to promote the possible livelihood options and what they could practice in field using that knowledge is something that should come with the degree, right? If it is for me who loves to study this subject, I would definitely want it to be compulsory. So I get taken seriously in all the panels that I speak on. But I've also interacted with enough people to know that not everybody wants to look at it from the same angle. So it needs to be catered to based on what the major subject is, and then the minor can be designed based on that. On the G20 question, I think Devansh is the best person to answer that.
Thank you so much. Like she rightly said, I agree with the fact that sustainability as a topic, maybe it can be kept as an elective, but because not everyone would be comfortable with it. But what can be done is certain modules from it could be adapted into the mainstream subjects. You could take in sustainable marketing. In your marketing compulsory courses, you could sustainable practices in finance and accounting could be taken in the finance and accounting measures. Similarly, they can be adopted. So you have something to introduce, just get people started on it. You give them a taste of it, that this is what sustainability is, and it makes it easier for them to adapt or maybe opt for the elective in the future as well. Coming to, as we've taken on the presidency of G20, a proud moment for all of us. It's something that a lot of the things that we normally do in our daily lives. For example, there's a recent festival that is going on, Adi Mahotsav, where we have tribes from all over the nation coming to Delhi, and they're showcasing what they're doing. We had this beautiful stand from Mizoram, where they had created wonderful products out of bamboo. They had created a speaker out of bamboo that did not require any electricity. Again, a very sustainable thing and something that can be used in your daily life. A very modern tool to, for example, to say so. So, all this knowledge can be collated and, shared with our partner nations when they come here. It's again, a part of, I might be venturing a little bit off topic here, but coming to when it comes to sharing knowledge with our partner nations, when the G20 Sherpas came to India for the first time, they were very surprised to see a dholwala who had a UPI sticker on the dhol. Digital payments were happening through that. So, we have a lot of knowledge that is there, and this presidency is the moment for us to share it with our partner nations, to tell them, how we've innovated, how we've grown. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you, everyone. With this, we come to the end of the question answer session. We may now keep the panel open for discussion. So anybody who has anything to suggest, to discuss, we may please openly discuss the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Nazish, and thank you, the panel. But before carrying out the rest of the discussion, I would like to invite all the speakers on the dais so that we can have the complete panel over here.
May we first felicitate the speakers,
yeah, of
please?
course.
So the gist of what this entire session was all about, thanks to our young crusaders, that instead for looking for hope, look for action. Instead of waiting for action, be the action. With this, we come to the end of this session. May I request our volunteers to kindly help us felicitate our guests.